Boyd is ripping a tree out of the ground. Victor is screaming his lungs raw 20 feet away. And nobody is listening to him. Here's what people get wrong about Episode 9, The Calm Before. This isn't a normal hour of television. This is a system reset happening in real time. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to prove, point by point, that every single escape attempt this town just made was the exact nail they hammered into their own coffin. People think pulling out the bottle tree means freedom. It doesn't. It's exactly what the system wants. Boyd and Kenny chain that truck to the trunk, engine screaming, and the whole time, Victor's on his knees, throwing out a warning nobody bothers to translate. Why does that matter? Because by the end of this video, you'll understand. That tree isn't a wall keeping them in. It's an anchor. And anchors don't come out clean. Forget the yellow suit for a second. Forget the monster theater. The man in yellow isn't a god. He's a warden, running a prison. And right now he's just standing back, watching the inmates dig their own tunnel. Elgin just proved it. He finds an old Polaroid in the back of the diner, and it's Sophia. From an earlier cycle. That's the rule nobody said out loud until now. This thing can't invent a face. It can only wear the dead. Every person it's ever shapeshifted into already died inside Fromville's borders in some loop before this one. Now the tree. The boy in white begs Victor to stop them. You can't let that happen. And here's why that line should terrify you. That tree isn't decoration. It's the coordinate the entire pocket dimension is pinned to. And it sits directly over the bone chamber. Jade mapped that out himself back in Episode 8. The plan was simple. Pull the tree at the right second, crack the cave ceiling open, and use it as the emergency exit for whoever's down in those tunnels. But pull it wrong, or pull it at all, and you don't open a door, you force a spatial fold. The whole loop buckles and resets, and that tree becomes the next fallen trunk, blocking the road for the next family unlucky enough to drive into town. There's a darker layer underneath that. Tabitha and Jade aren't just two scared adults with a shovel. The theory holds that they're the reincarnated echoes of Miranda and the original Jade. Souls who tried this exact rescue centuries ago, failed, and got pulled back into the cycle to finish the debt. The man in yellow already warned Tabitha, back in Episode 8, that digging up those bones could mean salvation, or it could unleash a type of suffering you can't even begin to imagine. So here's the trap, laid bare. The escape route is the reset mechanism. Every move they make to get out is the move that keeps the prison running. Everyone's been watching Fatima suffer. I watched her get promoted. This town does not tolerate an empty seat. When one of its monsters dies, Fromville goes looking for a replacement. Fatima isn't sick. Fatima is being rewritten, set up to fill the vacancy left by the last guardian. Here's how it happens. Sophia drags Clara into Sarah's empty room and forces a blood pact on her, the same parasite that's been quietly eating away at Henry for weeks. Then Sophia hands Clara a family recipe and tells her exactly who to feed it to. Clara spikes the drink. Her hands won't stop shaking. The second Fatima swallows it, Clara knows precisely what she just did. Hours later, Fatima wakes up screaming, hair coming out in clumps, her stomach in agony. That's not a disease running its course. That's a biological transformation, and it's the opening stage of her becoming the kimono woman. Jade and Tabitha think they're being clever. They're not. They just walked into a trap that's been loaded since the day Clara made her deal. It starts with Ethan, honestly. He's the one who tells Tabitha the real game. This town weaponizes fear to keep people paralyzed, too scared to ever act. The second she lets that go, she sees the children of the forest standing there, pointing straight at her. That's not a hallucination. That's a green light. So Tabitha runs the math. The talismans only ever show two figures going down into those tunnels. Her and Jade. Only them. It's ritually correct. And that's exactly what unsettles Sophia the moment Clara comes running to report it. Clara recognizes Sophia, by the way, through a pair of glasses that used to belong to the professor, one of the night creatures. Recycled face, recycled props, same warden, different mask, every time. Clara reports back, only 2 are going underground. And Sophia, while pretending to help build the rope ladder, quietly tears it apart from the inside. When Clara cut that rope, she didn't destroy an exit. She sealed the only 2 people who actually matter in this entire game, inside a hole in the ground, with the bones, and with whatever's already moving toward them in the dark. Jim's death wasn't the worst thing in this episode. Victor screaming while the whole town turns its back on him, that was. Here's the full shape of it. Henry's been drinking Sophia's tainted blood for weeks, and it's dragged him into a fake world, a care facility, his dead wife, a version of Victor who never lived through any of this. The Vision insists none of Fromville is real, just a coma, a bad trip from his youth. And to wake up, he has to remove the anchor, which means murdering his actual, living son. This episode, the illusion turns tactile. Vision Victor sits up and eats a burger, demands the sacrifice, calm as anything. He squeezes Henry's arm, and Henry flinches, yanks away in horror. Some part of him is still fighting this, but the pressure is pushing him toward a break he might not survive. Meanwhile, the real Victor gets his own warning from the boy in white about that bottle tree. He tries to stop Boyd and Kenny, frantic, disjointed, exactly the way Victor always sounds right before he turns out to be right. And what does the town do? They cuff him, leave him wailing on his knees while everyone just watches. Boyd even drops to his own kind of prayer in the middle of it, begging whatever's listening to get these people home, then turns to Sarah and asks if they actually saved Fatima. Sarah doesn't answer. Her silence says everything. Victor is the only living memory this town has left. Silencing him isn't an accident. It's confirmation the town is fully ready to start a brand new cycle. By the time the episode cuts to black, 4 traps are closing at once. Boyd's team is still hauling on that tree. Jade and Tabitha are stuck underground with a severed rope and monsters at the entrance. Fatima's mid-transformation, 1 room away from a handcuffed Victor and a son with a knife in his hand. And Elgin's locked in the diner, with Sophia, mask off. Fromville's algorithm doesn't make mistakes. Today, Boyd and Tabitha did exactly what the man in yellow was waiting for. And if you think next episode is the finish line, you haven't seen what's about to happen to Elgin in that diner. So tell me, is Victor the real anchor? The one who has to die for this cycle to actually end? And does Henry pull that trigger before the next sunrise? Drop your theory below. I'm Drama Crypt, and I'll see you in the tunnels. If you want to decode the next cycle with me, make sure you're subscribed.